Hello, this is Rob Shaw. I'm the founder of MTI, and this is the MTI podcast for the week of August 26th, 2024. Flying alone today. Charlie's on vacation, and Kelson has a family obligation, so you just get me. And what I'm going to do today is do a little bit of coaching instruction and go over the rules I've developed over my nearly 2 decades, or I guess 2 decades, now for sure, of strength and conditioning programming on designing work capacity events. This obviously is audio in terms of podcast, but we also are going to put this up on YouTube, and I have some presentation slides, so we'll put a YouTube link in the show notes. And it might be better to click over to YouTube and watch this presentation and listen to this on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the slides. Anyway, this presentation and my discussion today is on MTI's rules for work capacity event design. So in the world of MTI programming, work capacity events are single or multimodal. And what I mean by modal is how many exercises per event. So either one event or two or more exercises, one exercise or two or more exercises, single or multimodal events, intense events lasting 3 to 30 minutes. These work capacity events kind of bring everything together. Aerobic base, aerobic power, muscular strength, strength endurance, mental fitness, and the ability to perform at a high percentage of your VO2 max with a high percentage of muscular strength at the same time. These are anaerobic events, and what I mean by that is they're so intense that you can't do them forever. There's not like slow, steady state aerobic base training like an easy run where you can pretty much go forever. Work capacity events are intense where you're gonna bonk and have to quit at some point. And in our event and in my MTI's methodology, we have these events lasting no longer than 30 minutes. We found that anything over 30 minutes just quite isn't intense enough for a true work capacity event. Also, what we found is that these anaerobic work capacity events are the most probable in an intense, dangerous tactical situation, such as firefighters fighting a house fire, a dangerous house fire, waterland firefighters, on the front edge of a hot fire, digging a fire line, or needing to do an emergency egress to get out of the way of the fire. Movement under fire, under gunfire for law enforcement or military guys. Those are all super intense anaerobic work capacity events. A perfectly designed work capacity event will push the athlete to near muscular or cardiorespiratory failure simultaneously. Ideally at the final rep and the final time of the event. Ideally, you'll have this come together where, muscles will give out and heart and lungs will fail at the same time. That's a perfectly designed event, work capacity event design. So here's just some examples of single mode events, and I've got 5 of them here, but I'll just go over 2 of them. So again, a single mode is a single exercise work capacity event. And one that I've really come to use over the years, it's been really successful for us, is 4 rounds of a 300-meter shuttle every 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We found that most athletes will finish a 300-meter shuttle in about 1 minute to 1:15. And so the quicker they finish the 300-meter shuttle, the more rest they get before the next round begins. So 4 rounds of 2:30 is 10 minutes total. This is a 10-minute event. Another great single mode event that we've used over the years is 10-minute sandbag get-ups for reps, loaded at 60 pounds for women and 80 pounds for men. If you've never done sandbag get-ups and if you've never done this event, I can tell you right now it's no joke. And not only does it hammer lungs and legs and core, but having that sandbag on you all the time really pushes your mental fitness and is uncomfortable. It's a great, great work capacity event. So those are single mode events. And again, single mode events are one exercise. And if you click over to YouTube, if you listen to this podcast, you can watch on YouTube. You can see 3 others that we have used in the past, just 3 other single mode examples. So some examples of multi-mode work capacity events. And again, by multi-mode, I mean more than one exercise, 2 to 3 exercises. An example is 7-minute AMRAP, or as many rounds as possible. 5 power cleans loaded at 75 pounds for women, 95 pounds for men. 5 box jumps at 20 inches, and 5 burpees. So you're just going to go through these exercises again, as many rounds as you can in 7 minutes. That's a no-joke multi-mode work capacity event. Another one that we've used over the years is a 12-minute AMRAP of 3 power cleans loaded at 75 pounds for women, 115 pounds for men, so a little heavier. Followed by a 75-meter shuttle. So down 25 meters, back 25 meters, down 25 meters, and then a walk back to start. You'll be surprised if you do this after 2 or 3 rounds, how little rest you get that walk back to start. And this is a really intense work capacity event. So again, those are just 2 examples of multi-mode or more than one exercise classic MTI work capacity events. Okay, so now let's get to the rules that I've developed over the years for work capacity events. The first rule is no more than 3 exercises per event. Keep it simple. When I first started coaching, I put together really complicated and fancy work capacity events with 4 to 8 exercises, and I was really proud of myself, thought I was a great coach. And what I found over the years is that more than 3 exercises doesn't really do anything for the athlete's fitness. All it does is make the event more complicated and lead to other issues. So keep it simple. No more than 3 events or 3 exercises per work capacity event. And 2 exercises is better than 3, and 1 exercise is better than 2. Always work to simplify. The second rule is you've got to work the legs in these events. You need to exercise in the event 1 or more that works the legs. Excuse me. The legs are the biggest muscle in the body, and you need to work the legs to get the heart pumping and lungs working. You have to work the legs. That means sprints, running, box jumps, swings, etc. You have to work the legs to hit the lungs. So here's an example event that doesn't work the legs, a work capacity event. 6 rounds for time of 10 push-ups, 10 dips, and 5 pull-ups. So 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 5 pull-ups, 6 rounds for time. This isn't a work capacity event because there's no leg exercise into it. It's really a strength endurance effort. And you might have to stop. It might push your upper body. These are all upper body exercises in this circuit or this event. And because the legs aren't worked, certainly make you tired. It'll be hard, but your lungs and heart will not be working nearly as hard as they should be if you had included a leg exercise in this event and pulled one of the upper body exercises. So again, you need to work the legs. You can't design a properly designed work capacity event if you don't work the legs. If you don't work the legs, you don't work the heart and lungs as hard as they should be worked. So always include an event that hammers the legs, or an exercise that hammers the leg in your work capacity events. Our third rule is no garbage reps. So garbage reps are light and or moderately loaded, high rep, deep squat, or deep lunging movements. So examples include wall balls, high rep, light thrusters, high rep, lightly loaded back squats, high rep, lightly loaded front squats. What I've found over the years is I've had concerns based on my own experience. I'm 56 now, but I started to feel my knees in my mid-40s, and they're pretty bad now. And boy, I used to do design work capacity events with lots of wall balls, lots of deep front, front squats, lightly loaded, lots of back squats, lots of thrusters, etc. And when my knees started hurting, I started wondering if all I was doing with those types of events was wearing out my knee cartilage prematurely. So if you're doing light back squats as part of a work capacity event, you're not getting any stronger, right? And you can replace those back squats with sprints or box jumps, which aren't lightly loaded, and maybe save your knees a little bit and get the same effect in terms of working the legs and making the lungs and heart work. So a few years ago, I started eliminating all of these garbage reps from our work capacity event design. And hopefully we don't design any work capacity events with these types of exercises in them. You can always replace, loaded high rep, lightly loaded squats, front squats or back squats or lunges just with either body weight exercises, like body weight squats or body weight lunges, or sprints or box jumps or something else where you'll achieve the same effect, working the legs and lungs and heart without hopefully prematurely impacting the knees. The fourth rule is to prescribe loading in these exercises in work capacity events, so most athletes don't need to stop and rest because of strength. Remember, work capacity is not strength training. We're not interested in getting the athlete stronger. We're interested in building their work capacity, which doesn't have a strength component, but also includes, the heart and lungs. And anytime an athlete has to stop because one of the exercises in the work capacity event is too heavy, he or she has to stop and break the set and break the reps in the set. What happens is his or her hearts and lungs get to rest and they stop getting worked. And you want to keep the athlete moving all the time through these events. So work capacity exercise loading that is too heavy defeats this goal. So for example, let's say we're doing a 10-minute or 7-minute AMRAP, as many rounds as possible. 5 power cleans loaded for women at 115 pounds and men at 185 pounds. 5 box jumps at 20 inches and 5 burpees. 185-pound power cleans for most men, 5 reps. They're not going to be able to get all those sets or many sets at all, if even one set of 5 unbroken. They're going to have to stop and rest between reps or after 2 reps or something. Again, anytime the athlete has to stop and rest, you're defeating the goal of keeping the lungs and heart moving or worked because the athlete gets to rest. And you can fix this event by simply decreasing the load of the power cleans. So instead of 5 power cleans at 115 for women and 185 pounds for men, how about 5 power cleans at 75 pounds for women and 95 pounds or 115 pounds for men? Still heavy, still a challenge, but most men, veteran athletes, MTI veteran athletes are able to knock out 5 power cleans at 115 pounds. Set after set, it'll be challenging, but they won't need to stop because of strength. And again, that's the concern, is they need to stop because of strength. We want to avoid the athlete having to stop. Another example is, again, 5 rounds for time of 10 deadlifts at 165 pounds for women, 225 pounds for men. It's possible that you'll have men that are able to achieve, 5 sets of 10 deadlifts at 225 unbroken, but most of us wouldn't. We need to break those sets up because of strength. And anytime, again, we had to stop to take a rest between deadlift reps, our heart and lungs are getting a rest. So you can fix this by decreasing the loading of the deadlifts. Instead of 10 deadlifts at 225 pounds for men, go 10 deadlifts at 95 pounds for women and 135 pounds for men. Most veteran athletes will be able to knock out 5 rounds of 10 deadlifts at 135, no problem. and then run 200 meters. So we'll be able to keep the athlete moving the entire time, still get to work deadlifts, but they won't need to stop because of strength. Again, anytime the athlete has to stop because of your poor work capacity event design, you've defeated the purpose, which is to keep him or her moving, and especially keep working their cardiorespiratory system, heart and lungs. The fifth rule, and I see this a lot, is don't overload the grip, low back, or shoulders. These are just muscle areas, specific muscles and muscle groups in the body that some coaches will work in multiple exercise and work capacity events. So again, the athlete has to stop because their grip or their low back or their shoulders give out. And anytime the athlete has to stop, their heart and lungs stop working. So here's an example of a work capacity event that hammers the grip and is poorly designed. 8 rounds for time of 20 kettlebell swings, which hits the grip, followed by 5 pull-ups, which again hits the grip, followed by a 40-meter farmer's carry, which again hits the grip. Again, we're not training grip strength endurance with the work capacity event. We're training work capacity, and it can have a grip strength component, but you also are training the heart and the lungs to handle anaerobic demands. And there's a good chance that somewhere in this event, one or more times, the athlete's going to have to stop because of his or her grip gives out. That's poorly designed. Here's the example of a work capacity event that hammers the low back. 8 rounds for time of 20 kettlebell swings, followed by 10 deadlifts, followed by 10 sandbag cleans. Every one of those exercises involves low back extension, and there's a good chance that along the way, the strength endurance of the athlete's low back is going to get overly fatigued, and they're going to have to stop and rest and break sets. And again, anytime they get to stop and rest, or they have to, you quit working their heart and lungs, and that's poorly designed on your part as a coach. Finally, example of an event that hammers the shoulders. 8 rounds for time, 10 burpees, followed by 10 push press, followed by 10 dips. Here again, each one of these 3 exercises hammers the shoulders, and 3 exercises in a row that hammer the shoulders are going to lead to shoulder strength endurance issues, and chances are the athletes are going to have to stop and rest to let their shoulders recover. And when they stop and rest, you're defeating the purpose of work capacity. You want to keep them moving. 6th rule seems obvious, but this is a common mistake I've seen in a lot of beginning coaches. Keep your rep scheme simple when you're designing these. Don't make the athlete wonder how many reps he or she has to do for every different exercise in the event. Ideally, make all the exercise reps the same, or prescribe them so they're easy to remember. So, for example, 8 rounds for time at 17 kettlebell swings, followed by 8 box jumps, followed by 50 farmer's carry. You can easily improve this by going 8 rounds for time of 20 swings, 20 box jumps, and a 20-meter farmer's carry. So 20, 20, 20, really easy to remember. Another bad design example, 20-minute AMRAP of 12 burpees, 7 pull-ups, and 6 prone to sprint. See, that just is hard to remember, 12, 7, 6. You can improve this design by doing a 20-minute AMRAP of 12 burpees, followed by 6 pull-ups, followed by 6 prone to sprint. So we got 12, 6, 6. And it's much easier to remember for the athlete. So just like when it comes to overall event design and the number of exercises you choose, keep it simple. And one way to improve the simplicity or decrease in complexity is keep the reps in the exercises easy to remember for the athletes. So those are my 6 major rules for work capacity events design. But there's some other considerations I just want to mention before we conclude here. The first one is weight room flow. In other words, can the athlete move easily from one exercise to the next without downtime walking to a piece of equipment? So this has happened several times where I've designed, some type of work capacity event where the athlete couldn't easily get from one exercise to the next. And so he or she had to take and, get some downtime walking, through the gym or across the gym or something to the other piece of equipment they needed for that exercise. And every time the athlete has to stop and rest or walk, again, that's poor design because you're giving the heart and lungs a rest. Another thing that happens is another consideration is that the last event in the circuit finished where the first one starts. In other words, does the athlete be able to, when they get done with the last exercise in the circuit, are they immediately ready to pick up and start the next one, or the first exercise to go through the circuit again? If that's not happening and that's not by design, then you can need to fix that. So that's easier for the athlete, so the athlete can immediately go from one exercise to the next without stopping. Safety, I've made this mistake several times over my years as a strength coach, where you'll put together work capacity events, you're not paying attention, and you'll put your athletes in dangerous situations. An example is having athletes doing box jumps right next to another group of athletes who are doing power cleans. So there's a chance that the athlete doing the box jump might get hit, by a barbell that's dropped or a power clean bar that's coming up or something. So always think safety and just be smart. You can always change an exercise or move the athletes. Finally, if you're watching a work capacity event you've designed and things are going to shit, stop the event immediately, have all the athletes stop the clock, fix it, and then start again. I've seen many of my young coaches design an event, and I've done this myself, where things aren't working, it's loaded too heavy, overworking the shoulder, something's not working right, there's a safety issue, and I've kind of hesitated to stop it. I don't know if it's because I didn't want to embarrass myself by bad design or whatever, but anyway, I always hoped it would get better, it never did, and I had to stop it anyway. So now when I design something and my athletes are working through it and it's going to shit, I stop them right there, I fix it, and then I get going again. Do the same. If it's not going well, stop it, fix it, and then get going again. It's not going to get any better. And finally, don't get cute or try to entertain the athletes with sophisticated, work capacity event design. All that matters is fitness improvement. And this can always be completed with simple exercises and simple circuits. Work capacity event design, I think some coaches try to get a little bit too cute and fancy, and they defeat the purpose. By far, one of my favorite work capacity events is single mode sprint repeats. There's nothing more simple than doing shuttle sprint repeats, and nothing more devastating to hammer work capacity. So if you ever get confused or whatever, you need something to default to, just have the athlete start doing sprint repeats, suicide sprints, 300-meter shuttles, it doesn't matter. It's a great way to train work capacity, super effective, and it'll achieve the purposes in a really simple manner. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, rob@mtntactical.com. And if you have any other rules that you've learned in terms of work capacity event you want to share, send them to me, and I'll certainly reflect on them and give you a comment back. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.